Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. Kind of coming in. We're going to give some people some time to kind of get in here. If you have questions, make sure to use that Q&A, which is at the bottom of your screen. That's how you'll get your questions to us. And if we don't answer them live here, we are going to make sure that someone from the admission office follows up. But let's, so we're kind of letting people in. What's everybody kind of looking forward to? Or is there kind of like staycation plans for the summer? Anything that, like, I'm really looking forward to the fact that my backyard and my vegetable garden is like full force right now. That's pretty much what I'll be spending my summer doing, is doing house projects. But any fun stay-at-home quarantine vacations? Michael, anything that you're looking forward to? We'll go into what you're doing actually, so I don't know if you'll get a break, but.
Yeah, I'm excited I'll be graduating again soon, this summer. And so it'll be nice I'm sure I'll be talking with like friends and family again, kind of connecting and that. I mean, I don't, it's quarantine, so I don't know what form that will look like, but it'll be nice to connect in some capacity with friends and family.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Shannon?
I'm pretty excited to do some biking. I've recently rediscovered it, and there are so many bike trails up here in Seattle that you can go over to 520, you can go up in Burke-Gilman. I might even train to do like a 200-mile bike soon. There's like I guess from Ritzville to Seattle, so Ritzville, Washington to Seattle, there's like a scenic bike tour. And so I was thinking about maybe biking that, and then you camp along the way, so all very socially distant. But we'll see, just depending on how the state opens up and also how many miles I can actually bike without falling over.
Tavon, what about you?
So I'm probably, because normally in the summer I'd like to go places, like to travel, but I probably won't get on an airplane anytime soon. So I'll probably drive, like with my roommate, just drive to a couple states and just walk around, hang out. I don't know yet for sure. Figure it out. Yeah.
That's awesome. Alrighty, well, we will get started. So officially welcome to Video Overnight, the finale. This is kind of our last week of events, and we're really excited to kind of share some new panels with you all. So my name is Hillary Powell. I serve as an Associate Director of Admission. I am a 2013 graduate of PLU, so it's super fun for me to be able to host this alumni panel. I was a communication major with a PR and advertising, which is now strategic communication emphasis. I was a religion minor, and I studied away during my time at PLU, which are some of the things that stand out to me. But we will have our panelists introduce themselves. So Michael, do you mind getting started?
Sure, yeah. I'm Michael. I graduated in 2015 and I studied biology and with a chemistry minor. And now I'm a graduate student at the University of Washington.
Awesome. Shannon?
Yes, I'm Shannon. I graduated in 2017. I studied business administrative with a concentration in marketing. I also dabbled in a Spanish minor, but I chose to study away for a second time, so I didn't complete that one. But I thought the study away experience was just as important. And then now I actually live in New York City, so it's pretty different. But I work in real estate investment and multifamily kind of apartment property management. So I do a lot as a business development analyst, but I had no idea that this was even out there. So it was very exciting to pursue.
That's cool. Tavon.
So my name's Tavon. I graduated from PLU in 2015. I got a business degree from PLU. Then I got a master's in teaching from University of Nevada, Las Vegas. So now I teach 6th grade math.
Awesome. Very cool. Do you all mind also sharing what your hometowns were? So where you kind of came to PLU from? Michael, we'll start with you. We'll just keep going in alphabetical order.
Yeah, I grew up in Southwest Washington in a town called Longview.
Shannon?
I grew up in Seattle. So then I just drove on down to Tacoma.
Perfect. And Tavon?
And I grew up in Tacoma, Washington, so I went to high school probably 15 minutes from PLU.
That's great. Awesome. I think it's nice to kind of know and see, where people are coming from. So we have our first question, and reminder to all of our participants, if you have questions for the panelists, make sure to ask in that Q&A. But the first question is, what made you choose PLU? And Shannon, we will start with you this time.
Sure. So I would say I chose for a various amount of different reasons. And when I think back, it really was kind of a multifaceted decision. But I knew I really wanted a small community. I had come from a smaller high school. I didn't want that really big public college and that huge overwhelming auditorium. It still to this day scares me, and I don't know how people sit in them. But so I wanted a smaller community, and then I really wanted to study away, but I really wasn't sure if I had the courage to do so. Like that was a big attempt for me to do. And so I wanted a community that it was so ingrained that it was the thing to do, that it wasn't like you were something different to do it. It was what everyone did, that I would feel actually comfortable to leave PLU and to go see another part of the world. And then when I actually came to campus to visit, I came for one of the overnight weekends, and I met the most welcoming of communities. And I immediately was like, I didn't know much about PLU before stepping foot on it. And I walked away like, I think that's my school. So.
Tavon or Michael, do you care to share?
Yeah, I can. So I grew up 15 minutes from PLU. And when I came to make the decision, I had never really had like a dream college. But when it came down, I decided on the last day, like May 1st, just like every person that I respected a lot of people, but every person my mentors, I guess, it just was like they all went to PLU, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go for it. And I'm glad that I did make that decision.
Awesome. Michael, what about you?
Yeah, I would say if I had to kind of distill it down, I would say when I visited, it was just extremely apparent to me that there was a close relationship between students and the university, whether it was staff or faculty. There was just a very palpable sense of care, and that just meant a lot to me. And so I felt like I would be very successful at PLU for that and the other reasons mentioned. And I think I was right. I had a lot of, I won't go into like my whole experience, but that feeling ended up being true. So I'll just, I'll wait if there's more questions on that to answer more.
That's great. So we have some questions about studying away. So I know a couple of us did that for a semester. Did anybody do it for a J term?
I did both.
Right. Shannon, do you mind talking about your J term?
Sure. So I actually did what was a blended J term. So we did 2 weeks on campus and then 2 weeks out in the world. It was a communication class that was set in London. So we spent the first 2 weeks really working on what our projects were going to be. They were independent studies that we had to create a podcast actually about an experience. And we had to interview people and really get this big multifaceted, I love that word today, multifaceted opinion on something. And so I actually got to study and interview, I think my topic was how people chose to live abroad. So interviewing for someone who moved for work, I think I interviewed an Amazon transplant over to London, the study away folks, the people who went and did a teach abroad, and then after college. So it was really interesting, but it was really cool to be able to do both of it. So we got to set up our whole project and then actually go to London and sightsee and go on really fun tours, and all the while meeting PLU alumni. We went and saw the Accenture headquarters and had like special clearance passes to go back there. Like, it was some pretty cool stuff that we got to do. And that was just my J-term class.
That's awesome. Michael or Tavon, care to share your experience?
I did a J-term in Manchester, England for a month, and it was based on the Industrial Revolution. And pretty much Monday through Thursday, we had class for about 2 hours in the morning, and then we went on like a really long walking tour, sightseeing, museums, things like that. And then we had 3-day weekends to like travel and see other parts of Europe and things like that. So yeah, it was great.
Cool. So we'll move on to the next question. So think back. For some of this is longer than others, but what advice would you give to new incoming first-year students on kind of how to make a successful transition into PLU? I'll start kind of while people are maybe thinking about their own answers, and we're kind of referring back, is that for me, my favorite day, both as a student and as a staff member, is the involvement fair day. And it is my biggest piece of advice, and something that worked really well for me is that I walked around, I put my email on kind of every club that sounded interesting to me, and I attended the first meeting. And I kind of found out if, it was something that I was really interested in, or, kind of was I clicking with, this group of people, or did I want to learn more about what they were doing? And if I did, then I continued to go. And if I didn't, then I said, thanks so much. It was great to meet you, but I'm more interested in putting my time here. So I think the involvement fair and really taking advantage of that opportunity can help make that transition a little less scary as you are trying to find kind of this new community. But anybody else kind of care to share their experience first?
I can share.
Go for it, Michael.
Yeah, it's a combination, I think, my experience and my younger sister, who just sort of also just went into college again. And my family, just for context, is I was first generation. I was the first person in my family to go to college. So that was kind of the only point of reference for my sister. So kind of was able to think about this question a little bit recently. And one thing I know that I was sort of focused on, that a lot of people are, is like, what's like your major going to be, which is definitely, a very important question. But I think something that's super great about college, especially when you're starting, is that you, especially at a liberal arts institute, is that you can and should, enjoy the breadth and diversity of classes that are offered. And I know just for sort of, future planning, it's very beneficial to be interested in many things, or have kind of expertise in other areas outside of whatever your major focus was in college or other parts of your life. So I guess I would say just like really embrace the diversity of content and experiences, and not worry as much about like your major and what it's going to be. Especially, at the end of the day, like whatever you want to do with your life, if you can demonstrate to someone, whether it's an employer or even to yourself, that you can be successful at something that you chose to do, whether it's something maybe you didn't end up doing that major for a career. If you show that you're very competent and you can do that very well, and also have learned more generally about other fields, that alone, that's great. That's better than most experiences. So I would say embrace the diversity and try out lots of things. Don't feel so confined by what your major is or will be.
Awesome. Tavon or Shannon?
I'm happy to share. I would say the biggest advice I had was to really meet the people that you were living with in your first year wing. I made it my mission to get to know every single person, whether they were really had the time at the moment or wanted to. And I always made sure to leave my door open and to smile and say hi to them and ask them how their day was. And it was hilarious because a few of the people had come in with a friend group already, or they were on a sports team, and they were like, we're pretty situated. We don't really need to make new friends right this moment. We don't want to be too overwhelmed. And I said hi to them every single day. And by January, we became the best of friends. And to this day, they're my closest PLU friends. So persistence is key, but also that, these are the people that you live with and you spend a really big amount of time with. And so taking those few moments, even if you're feeling really nervous or not sure what to do, but just being that person that says, hi, how are you? How was your class? Do you want to go grab dinner? But those are those few people that I made those first connections with. They truly are my best friends to this day. So that would be my advice.
I'm not surprised at the persistence. Tavon, do you mind sharing kind of your advice to incoming new students?
Yeah, sure. So I would say something that helped me when starting at PLU is just try to say yes to as many things as you can. Um, so even if something seems like weird or out of your comfort zone, just show up. Just like you show up to class every day, show up to all the wing events. There's a lot of opportunities to just be there, even if you're by yourself, like and just hanging out watching. Um, if you just keep showing up, you'll keep meeting people and go try new things. Like if you've never played ultimate frisbee, go out there and try and play one day. Like just keep showing up.
You can even try it your senior year and find a whole new passion. That's what I did.
Thank you for sharing. Michael, this next question kind of gets back to what you were talking about majors, and how that can be kind of a daunting question when you're entering college is what are you going to major in? So just quickly wondering, and raise your hand if this is true or not, that you graduated PLU with a degree that you thought you were going to get once you entered PLU. So did you change your mind?
No, change my mind? No.
I did change my mind.
I changed my mind as well. Do you mind kind of sharing maybe like what, for Shannon and Michael, coming in with a major in mind, what helped you solidify that idea? And then I'll have a different question for Tavon and I. Michael, do you want to start?
Yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah, I had like a major in mind. I didn't have I wouldn't say career path, so it's sort of a different question that I'm happy to talk about. But definitely the major, like for my biology, I was interested in, and then what solidified it was my general biology professor, and all the other ones really, but my first one, Dr. Amin, in her general biology class, I just was just so intrigued by it, and it was so awesome, and I went to talk with her more about it, and she really fostered that and kind of led me down the path of like biology, and this is so cool, and she really helped me get more and more engaged in it. First semester I just was hooked.
That's awesome. Shannon, what about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to really figure it out. I did take an entrepreneurship class in my junior year of high school, and I really fell in love with business. And as a child, I made sure to make businesses at lemonade stands, at selling barrettes, everything. And so it kind of seemed pretty fitting. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do education and pursue being a teacher because I also have always loved kids and working with kids. But I kind of decided to do business first and then always have the idea that I could do teaching again later. But then kind of like Michael, I think it was the classes that really was like, okay, you're on the right track. And the really cool thing about the business school program is it's the whole bit of business. So you're taking accounting and you're taking finance and you're taking business economics and you're like statistics, and you're getting so many different parts of business that it really does set you up for anything you kind of do post-grad, because there's some component of that you're going to end up seeing in your job, whether that's studying data or having to make accounting budgets, like it seemed like a pretty solid decision. And I'm glad I made it, but unfortunately I don't think I have much more about how I picked the path.
Oh, that's okay. And Tavon, what did you kind of start PLU thinking you were going to major in, and how did you end up where you were at?
Yeah, so I started PLU thinking I was going to become a lawyer. And then so I started with a political science major, and then saw at the end, I'm not sure if we had to declare halfway through sophomore year, at the end of sophomore year, but when it was getting close to the deadline, I always wait to the end of every deadline to make a decision. So I was getting to the end of the deadline, and I was talking to my political science professor, and something he said, and I just sprinted down to the business building and talked to them about the prerequisites. And because PLU makes you take so many different prereqs your first year and a half, I had enough prerequisites to get into the business school, so I decided I was going to do business. And then at the end of the business program, I decided to become a teacher. So then I knew in the back of my head that I'd eventually go to get my master's in teaching. But that's what PLU
awesome.
does, prepares you to be able to change. So.
No, I think that's really true. I came into PLU thinking I was going to be a business major, and then realized how much math base is in business, which if you don't know, there is. So I quickly changed to communication because it was a much better fit for my skill set and just who I was kind of naturally as a person. And definitely has helped me throughout my work just now in presenting or talking to crowds or being able to talk about a specific, part of the university. My degree has definitely helped me in the work that I do now. But really it was the math classes where I was like, this isn't going to be success for me. So for those that are in the business program, so for Tavon and Shannon, what was your concentration and how did you decide to make that your concentration? So Tavon, we'll start with you.
So I tried to get 2 concentrations, and so I tried to get marketing and human resources, but I ended up getting just human resources because I had so many political science classes that I couldn't get finish the marketing. I was just 1 class away from marketing. But the human resources, I really decided to get that one because really my older sister is a chief human resources officer. So I just really thought that that was something that I wanted to do. But then as I learned more about it, I was like, no, that's not for me.
Yeah. Shannon?
I always wanted to go into marketing. I didn't really know what kind of marketing, and the PLU program is very data heavy. So you do a lot of surveys and analyzing of that. So it was kind of more scientific, which I thought was really interesting. I also thought about doing accounting because I absolutely love when numbers equal each other and that you have the right answer. It's really thrilling. But I kind of went with marketing, and then I just stuck with it. And the classes, I'm really glad I did. All of my marketing professors were some of my most favorite. One of them was Professor Mulder, and he then taught me my nonprofit class. And we went to Nicaragua and built a well and studied nonprofit. And I got to use my almost Hispanic studies minor to speak in Spanish. And so it was just a lot of opportunities that opened up for me, which was really cool.
That's great. Yeah, Tavon.
Yeah, and then you do take a couple classes of each one. So you get to take at least 1 of each before you decide like which route you want to go. So you do get to dabble in each one before you decide.
Oh, nice. That's super helpful. So Michael, some people would like to know if you have any advice for those who are interested in kind of the medical field or medical research, especially getting into graduate school, and then how PLU was able to help you, or your experiences at PLU were able to help you with where you are now.
Yeah, I think one of the first major ways that sort of like how PLU shaped that was just having access to professors who were a lot more aware of what those experiences, what that field would look like and what that required, which is, it sounds kind of like a little thing, but it's super valuable to have that experience, that experience that you can engage with and have like really great in-depth conversations of like, oh, I'm interested in this, would this path look like that, or just kind of have someone there to help you understand what would be best. And so for example, I think when I started, I was interested in more applied healthcare, so like pharmacist or physician sort of track. And I was doing some summer research, which you can do at PLU. I was doing undergraduate research with Dr. Sikowski. And so I was kind of like, I think I'm doing this. And then, talking with her more like, well, if I go this path, what, what does that look like in my daily life? What kind of things do I need to learn? And so she was super, gracious and was willing to kind of talk me through what that would look like. And then the conversation was able to shift more like, well, what about, other shades of the medical field, like research and stuff? And she's like, oh, it looked like this. And I was like, oh, that sounds super interesting. And so those and many other conversations kind of helped shape this very, very large field and contextualize it, which you might not otherwise in other universities are really big, and it seems kind of hard to grasp what exactly this medical field is and what kind of roles there are. And so I think, professors were super helpful in that. Additionally, in more like practical terms, like if you're applying to graduate school, having letters of rec that are like meaningful are super, super important. And you always get those at small schools. Like your professors know who you are, and they will speak to you and have really great recommendations for you that will beat out any generic letter of recommendation the universities are saying. So just more from a technical standpoint, that's super helpful. And then just in addition, just like having a great knowledge base, I felt extremely prepared in terms of knowledge and content entering into graduate school compared to my peers. I had an amazing educational experience in biology, and I was not at all intimidated by the graduate work. I really attribute that to just the phenomenal education that I got from the professors at PLU.
That's awesome. So kind of on the theme of talking about kind of postgraduate life, how did your time at PLU, to anybody, help you in life after graduation, or kind of what skill sets did you feel that PLU really set you up with in life after graduation? So does anybody want to take that one first? I know it's kind of a loaded
I'm happy to. I'll jump in.
Go for it, Shannon.
So I would say I studied for a whole semester in Barcelona, and I do truthfully think that that really gave me the push I needed to completely uproot my life here in Seattle and Pacific Northwest and move across the country to New York City, which is, a huge city, and also to find my own kind of way of being there and existing and have the confidence to do so. I had, ever since being a child, I was like, I think I want to move to New York City, but I didn't know exactly how I would get there or what I would do. And if I would like it. And I'm happy to say, after nearly 2 years of living there, it is absolutely amazing and what my dreams were made of. I watched the ball drop in Times Square and was at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So I'm living my best New York life. But I think back and I don't know if I would have made that huge leap without like PLU instilling that you can do things and to follow what you want to do, and that confidence, and then giving me the opportunity to give it a try with a whole semester away. I think those were really huge, major stepping stones for getting me to where I am. I think my career, I didn't know what I really wanted to do, so I kind of fell into it. And again, going in and being like, hey, I'm going to ask those questions. My coworkers are always like, how do you come up with these big questions? And why are you so curious about all this? I'm like, oh, this is just, kind of how I learned how to attack it all. And I'm happy to work the long hours because I want to get the right, the outcomes of all of the projects I do. And there's accolades all the time of like, these projects are so thorough. And I'm like, oh, well, in college I had to write these really impressively thorough research papers, and you do analyze it all. And so I think PLU really did set me up for that. And so I'm very grateful. But it's really hard to know how you get to where you get, but when you do take those steps back, and I do think PLU truly fostered the growth.
Yeah. Tavon or Michael?
I would say similar to what Shannon said. So my first time leaving the country was with PLU for that J term, just 1 month. But since then, I've gone out of the country a few more times. I don't know if I would have that life experience if I never went to PLU, because it's so normal to study abroad at PLU, even if it's 2 weeks, a month, a semester. And same thing, I grew up 15 minutes from PLU, so when I went to PLU, it was like an easy transition because I was so close to home. But then after PLU, a couple years later, then I went to grad school away from home in Las Vegas, not quite as far as New York, but still I think the PLU experience helped me leave my comfort zone and be successful. So yeah, I would definitely say PLU helped me in my life now.
Yeah. What about you, Michael?
Yeah, I would say I also studied abroad, so I want to gush about that, but I'll wait or talk about it later maybe. But I would say overall, thinking about myself versus maybe others or my peers and, working or in graduate school right now. I definitely feel a lot more well-rounded as a person, which shows up in many ways. I just have a wide range of interests and varied skill sets that I, right now I'm doing a lot of science. There's a lot of bench stuff, kind of like pipetting and moving liquids around. But I've also, because of my more kind of comprehensive education at PLU, I'm also very involved with diversity inclusion work, being on committees and organizing events and stuff like that, which is not a skill set most of my peers have or would feel confident doing. I also, really like reading and writing and presenting and all these minutiae, just all these different aspects about my field that is a little more around it and not so much the narrow focus that you might think or have an education for in other contexts. I think I really attribute to PLU.
That's great. I know I would say that PLU is kind of a theme that I'm also hearing with you all is PLU really made me unafraid to go after what it was that I'm passionate about and that I want to pursue. That I've worked in admission. I have left admission to try, different areas and have had the opportunity to come back to working in admission. And I think it was my PLU education that really allowed me to be unafraid to try new things and to also then have that time to self-reflect and figure out if this job, is something that I really love and am passionate about. I think it's ruined me at ever having a job that I don't love or that I feel like I, am making my mark in the world, because that's something that's just kind of instilled in you in your PLU education is to not be afraid and to go after things that you are passionate about and that you care about and where you feel like your vocation lies. So thank you all for sharing kind of your story. We have a parent tuning in who would like to know how you would rate the area surrounding the university and kind of the safety measures on campus and how you felt as a student at PLU. Anyone want to take that first?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I personally have never had any safety issues or concerns, or in particular, nothing different than I would feel anywhere else in the world, or at least in this, in this country. I actually know that a lot of, I guess, I don't know if it's still true. I'm assuming it's still true, but there's a lot of campus safety presence that extends, a bit past the university proper. And so it's a lot more continuous with the community, which is super helpful if you need like a ride or if for whatever reason you don't feel safe, that's an option. But I really don't have any problems with it. And I really enjoyed the community. I liked how it was PLU just embedded right there. There wasn't like sort of pomp and circumstance where like you're this now in this university part of this town or something. It's just like, this is the university, this is the community that we're in, and it's continuous with that.
Awesome. Perfect. That was great, Michael. What is kind of one event that was your favorite throughout the year, or any favorite traditions that like every year you made sure to go and do that? I know there's a lot to choose from.
And I was going to say, I don't think I could pick one, and I made sure to annually go to all of them. I like to stay really busy, if you haven't been able to tell yet. I definitely did a lot and was really excited about doing a lot of it. But with that, like I was at the Study Away fairs, they did during a cross-culture week, every booth was set up, and if you had studied away, you were able to present what you had learned. But even just the campus events, the Cave had a ton of different music nights. There were painting nights. I don't know. Maybe Michael and Tavon have a more concrete example.
I can't remember if this was something separate when I was there, if it was Lollapalooza and there was a field day I don't remember if that was all the same day or if it was two different things. But the field day was like the same field day you'd have in like middle school, but we're all adults in college. So that was fun every year. Like people would race in those giant like blow up doll things. And there was like popcorn and candy and things like that. Does anyone else remember that? I don't know.
I know
It never gets old.
You said I always said a carnival, so I wonder if that was.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the same day.
For the block party.
The block, yeah.
A lot
Take
of
me back.
Or during finals when they had like the midnight waffles or something, the midnight pancakes. That was
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
That was a blast.
Seriously, again, pretty much all around food or some sort of activity. Michael, what about you?
And sorry, this is stuff we miss from
Like tradition, like thing that you would go to every year.
Oh, right. Okay. I trying to think of other examples. I was also a really busy person. I was walking around doing all the things. And so it's tradition. I don't know if this is a thing as a formal tradition, but definitely it is a thing. I miss like sitting in the university center, almost 100% knowing someone I know is going to be there, and will hang out or study with me for a second. And so I really, that just doesn't exist in many places. And so I miss being able to be like, I'm just going to go to the university center and just hang out and see who's there and what's up.
I know, I miss that too. The thing that I think I love every year, and I think I love it more now that I work there than I really appreciated as a student. So I guess another piece of advice is that on your first day of school, you have convocation, and it's this kind of more formal ceremony opening the school year, but you get to walk through all of the professors the same bell that rings at graduation, rings at convocation. And I think it's really cool when you're, in that first day of class and you have no idea who these professors are, to then at graduation, you're walking through and they're your mentors and your people at PLU, and how much that just changes throughout your 4 years at the university. And that was something I really loved, was just kind of having that moment to see how far I had come between convocation and graduation. And now it's just one of my favorite days because I get to like see all of the new students be able to do that. So kind of keeping on this theme, Michael, maybe this is also your what you miss, but what are some things that you miss about campus? I'm currently missing springtime on campus since I'm working from home right now. Tavon, do you want to start what you miss?
I would say one of the things that I miss about campus life, when I lived on campus, I mean, never again in your life will you live like one step away from 10 people you hang out with all the time. Or never again will you be able to just be like walk down the hall and gather a group of people to go do something outside that easily. And then even living off campus, I lived in a house with 8 guys. And so like, we just would do stuff all the time. Like, yeah, it was a lot of fun. So that camaraderie is hard to come by as an adult.
Yeah. Shannon or Michael?
I was going to say pretty much the same thing Tavon said. It really is that special thing. And I mean, I have a group chat and we call ourselves the PLU sorority sisters, because I kid you not, there's 20 of us in this group chat that all lived in our residence hall, multiple floors, and then all have just stayed really close ever since. But it is like we're scattered in at least 5 different states. We were in different countries for a while, and you don't get to just walk next door and make pasta. I think one night we made pasta for at least 15 of us from scratch in the little kitchen, and it was quite an event. But I think that's the biggest thing. But also just the whole campus, like walking it. I absolutely loved the walk from the residence hall I lived in at Tingelstad, and then also once I moved off campus, I was also in lower campus, and walking up by the pond, out through the University Center, or up around Hinderley Hill and Fossfield. Like those are just beautiful walks, and I love walking, and so I definitely miss walking around campus and just seeing people.
Yeah. Michael?
Yeah, I mean, in addition to my friends, I'm pretty introverted too, and I somehow still made a trillion friends that I miss and think about a lot. I think a specific thing that I miss is just like I want to say like in the spring or summertime and it's sunset. It is so beautiful, especially with the sun like rays just across the lawn, or when you're by the pond, kind of the lower part of the University Center. It is just so beautiful, and there's nature and there's birds everywhere. I miss that. I mean, it's beautiful here where I'm living in Seattle right now too, but there's something kind of special about certain spots on campus that I specifically miss.
Thank you. So we're going to do kind of some rapid fire questions for each of you. So Michael, we're going to jump back to you. And this might be tough, who was your favorite or favorites PLU professor?
That's super hard.
You can choose a couple. I'll give you a caveat. Yeah, you can choose a couple.
Okay. Dr. Tina Sikowski for like science stuff. And
what department is she in?
She's in chemistry. Yeah, chemistry. And I'm going to do like a non-major thing sort of. And I'll say Dr. Adela Ramos, who taught my literature class when I'm a science kid, so I was like, oh, this is going to be boring. But I took it and I was like, this is so awesome and amazing. And she's great. So I'll stop talking. Yeah.
She is. If you haven't listened to the faculty Q&A video, I highly recommend that because she was one of our panelists and she is great. Tavon, what was your favorite meal at the University Center or just on campus?
Probably chicken strips, or they have these like giant taquitos. Giant like chicken and cheese taquitos for like $1. Those are pretty good. So those are all card items, but they were good.
I was gonna say there is a deep love for chicken strips at PLU. That is for sure. The fact that they're there every day now is just a dream come true for a lot of people. Shannon, what is your favorite PLU memory?
Oh, that's not going to be an easy answer. I don't know if I could pick one. I mean, I struggled with this with my favorite what did I misses and like
I know.
I truthfully think one of the nights that I think I already brought it up, but the pasta making night, we had like 2 different floors of Tingelstad, all were put on our fancy dresses and make pasta and salad and bread, and everyone else kept peeking their heads out and down because in Tingelstad it's 2 floors with a balcony. So we were in the kitchen and everyone was peeking out every which direction, like, what's going on out there? We reshaped all of the furniture. We like had long tables with tablecloths. Like we made this really fancy dinner, and it was just for the heck of it because we could and we wanted to and we lived together. But I think that would stick out as one. We'll go with that because I think I could be here all day.
Yeah, those are great. Well, that is the end of our panel. So thank you so much, Tavon, Michael, Shannon, for joining us this evening from kind of all parts. It has been really fun for me to hang out with you all and to see your kind of smiling faces again. But thank you, everybody else who is tuning in. Like I said, if we didn't get to your questions, somebody else will follow up with you. But we will have the rest of kind of the events happening for Video Overnight, the finale, later this week. And always reach out to your admission counselor if you have any questions. But otherwise, have a great evening. See y'all later.
Bye.